Welcome back, cultivators. Today, we're diving into one of the most legendary moments in Battle Through the Heavens, Xiao Yan's very first battle as a Dou Sheng. In just one fight, 3 saints fell, countless Dou Zun were wiped out in an instant, and even the Soul Clan was forced to retreat. This is the battle that shook the entire continent, so let's relive it together. How insane was Xiao Yan's very first battle after stepping into the realm of a Dou Sheng? The moment he emerged, the entire continent trembled. In one fight, he cut down 3 half-saints in a row, countless Dou Zun experts were reduced to ashes, and even the mighty Soul Clan Dou Shengs were so terrified that they turned and fled. This marked the beginning of Xiao Yan's legendary journey in the wild, ancient domain. During the great battle for the ancient Bodhi tree, he obtained all 3 of the fabled Bodhi treasures. Among them, the most precious was the Bodhi heart, a miraculous item said to allow a Dou Zun powerhouse to ascend to saint on the spot. With this treasure in hand, Xiao Yan returned to Xingyun Pavilion and immediately entered seclusion. His goal was simple, to push for half-saint. After all, before leaving the ancient domain, he had forced the Soul Clan's half-saints to retreat in humiliation. And before withdrawing, those enemies had even issued a vicious warning. They would lead the Soul Clan army to wipe out Xingyun Pavilion. Knowing this, Xiao Yan had no choice but to strengthen himself as quickly as possible to prepare for the inevitable war. But even Xiao Yan himself never expected what would happen next. During this retreat, his cultivation skyrocketed, and he directly broke through to the rank of Dou Sheng. When he finally unleashed his power, a single strike turned countless Dou Zun into ashes. Even Yao Lao was left stunned when he saw his disciple step out of seclusion, radiating a completely new aura. Yet there was no time to celebrate. Not long after Xiao Yan's breakthrough, Xingyun Pavilion received a shocking declaration of war from the Mingyi League, a coalition of factions including the Tianming sect, Glacier Valley, and Fenglei Pavilion. All of them bore old grudges against Xiao Yan, and now they had joined hands to destroy Xingyun Pavilion once and for all. The challenge was clear: within half a month, the Mingyi League would march into Xingyun Pavilion's territory for a decisive battle that would determine the fate of both sides. As the days passed, the atmosphere inside Xingyun Pavilion grew tense and solemn. Yao Lao sneered at the declaration, remarking that the old demon of Tianming had finally lost his patience and would surely make a move himself this time. Kai Lin, however, was more cautious. She pointed out that the Mingyi League must have prepared some hidden trump card. After all, one of their grand elders had once fought Yao Lao to a draw. For them to suddenly challenge so high profile after a year of silence, something was definitely lurking behind the scenes. Understanding the threat, Yao Lao immediately put the pavilion on high alert, issuing strict orders and preparing defensive formations. Still, Kai Lin couldn't hide her worry for Xiao Yan, who had remained in seclusion for so long. When she asked about him, Yao Lao reassured her, saying Xiao Yan should be emerging soon. But both of them failed to notice the faint cracks that had begun to spread across the stone gate of Xiao Yan's closed chamber. A sign that something extraordinary was stirring inside. The day of reckoning finally arrived. Xingyun Pavilion entered its highest state of security in years, and countless onlookers from across the continent gathered to witness the clash of 2 great powers. At the mountaintop square outside the pavilion's main hall, Yao Lao, Kai Lin, Xiao Yixian, Qing Lin, and the guest elders stood prepared, their expressions grave. Soon, the forces of the Mingyi League stormed into the Star Realm, led by none other than the infamous Tianming Old Demon himself. His aura seemed deceptively ordinary, yet gave off a sense of unfathomable danger. When the 2 sides confronted one another, the atmosphere instantly turned poisonous. Tianming Old Demon arrogantly demanded that Xingyun Pavilion surrender a vast portion of its territory and swear never to oppose the Mingyi League again. In other words, total submission without even lifting a blade. But Yao Lao would never bow his head. He refused outright and activated the grand formation he had long prepared, trapping the Mingyi League within. Yet the old demon only laughed, unshaken. With a sneer, he revealed the true backing of their alliance. As the fabric of space cracked open, the Soul Palace's reinforcements arrived, the terrifying second heavenly venerable, Bonyu Saint, along with another newly promoted half-saint. In an instant, the Mingyi League side boasted 3 half-saints. Their combined might completely suppressed the Xingyun Pavilion. Yao Lao and the others instantly realized the truth. Surrender would only mean annihilation. There was no retreat, no compromise. This was a battle to the death. With grim determination, Yao Lao quickly laid out tactics. He himself would take on the 2 senior half-saints, Tianming and Bonyu. The newly promoted Soul Palace half-saint would be left to Kai Lin, Xiao Yixian, and Qing Lin, who would join forces to contain him. The enemy sneered at this division of power, mocking Yao Lao's so-called arrogance. And so, with a command, the battlefield erupted. The elites of the Mingyi League surged forward, while the warriors of Xingyun Pavilion roared back in defiance. Violent energy shook the star realm as the sky itself split under the force of their clash. Yao Lao's duel with the two half-saints ignited first. Tianming Old Demon's claws slashed toward his vital points, but Yao Lao refused to dodge, instead countering with a life-for-life strike that forced his enemy back. From the black mist, Bone Yu launched a sudden ambush, only to be repelled by Yao Lao's overwhelming soul power. Against both of them, Yao Lao was able to hold his ground for the time being. Meanwhile, Kai Lin, Xiao Yixian, and Qing Lin intercepted the Soul Palace's new half-saint. Though they were still only peak Dou Zun, their unique physiques and bloodlines unleashed astonishing power, pressuring even a half-saint. When he targeted Qing Lin, she blocked with her Dou Zun puppet, enraging him further. A brutal clash erupted as the three women fought with everything they had. And as the battles raged, something mysterious stirred deep in the back mountain. The stone chamber where Xiao Yan cultivated shuddered as cracks spread through the sealed door, the mountain itself trembling as if something long dormant was about to awaken. Back on the main battlefield, the fighting grew fiercer. Yao Lao's stamina began to waver under the relentless assaults of two opponents of equal rank. Tianming Old Demon unleashed his sex-devastating secret technique, while Bone Yu struck in perfect sync. Yao Lao barely blocked the strike, only to be blindsided by Bone Yu's palm. Blood surged in his chest as he staggered back, his body trembling. At the same time, calamity struck the other front. Kai Lin was gravely wounded, Xiao Yixian was knocked aside, and Qing Lin stood alone against the furious half-saint. Within moments, she too was struck down, even the phantom of her sky serpent shattered into nothingness. Seeing his allies fall, Yao Lao's focus wavered for just an instant, and Bone Yu seized the chance. His palm slammed into Yao Lao's back, sending him crashing into the square below. The mountain itself cracked apart from the impact. Hovering above, Tianming Old Demon sneered triumphantly. He declared Yao Lao defeated and demanded that Xingyun Pavilion surrender. The watching crowd believed it was over, that the meteoric pavilion was doomed. But as Yao Lao slowly rose from the rubble, blood dripping from his lips, there was still a flicker of unyielding determination in his eyes. Even facing despair, he was prepared to fight until his very last breath. At that critical moment, when Yao Lao stood bloodied and the meteoric pavilion seemed doomed, the entire star realm suddenly trembled. The mountains shook violently, as though a great earthquake had struck. Then, under countless stunned gazes, one of the mountains deep within the star realm erupted with a thunderous roar. A sea of raging flames burst forth like a tsunami, sweeping across the heavens and turning the sky into a blazing inferno. A suffocating pressure spread across the realm, so overwhelming that even seasoned experts shuddered. Tianming Old Demon and Bone Yu both froze, their faces draining of color. In disbelief, they screamed, this aura was not at the level of a half-saint. This was the power of a true Dou Sheng. When the figure finally emerged from the flames, everyone recognized that familiar face. The disciples of Xingyun Pavilion erupted in ecstasy, tears welling in their eyes. On the other hand, the warriors of the Mingyi League were struck with horror, their bodies trembling uncontrollably. Bone Yu of the Soul Palace stared at Xiao Yan in shock, his voice trembling as he muttered. Just 2 years ago, this youth had only been a peak Dou Zun, and yet now he radiated the crushing might of a Dou Sheng. Beside him, Tianming Old Demon's expression darkened. His killing intent surged as he demanded to know why everyone had underestimated this terrifying opponent. Only then did Bone Yu remember the Bodhi heart Xiao Yan had obtained years ago. Suddenly, everything made sense. Xiao Yan had vanished all this time because he had been in seclusion, striving for this very breakthrough. With Xiao Yan's appearance, the entire battlefield froze. All fighting stopped as cultivators on both sides were suffocated by that terrifying pressure. Even seasoned Dou Zun experts trembled like children under the weight of his aura. But Xiao Yan's eyes weren't on the crowd. They were locked on Yao Lao, covered in blood. A cold, murderous light burned within them. Stretching out his hand, Xiao Yan summoned Kai Lin, Xiao Yixian, and Qing Lin to his side with a gentle wave, protecting them instantly. Kai Lin, pale and weak, urged him to be careful. Even though his power had clearly soared, the enemy still had 3 half-saints. Xiao Yan gave her a calm smile and told them to rest, the rest he would handle. Raising his head, he fixed his gaze on the 3 opponents in the air. Bone Yu, Tianming Old Demon, and the newly promoted San Zun. All three stared back with solemn expressions, their hearts pounding with the realization that Xiao Yan had truly stepped into the Dou Sheng realm. Desperately trying to mask his fear, Donghua sneered that he could always summon stronger reinforcements from the Soul Clan. But Xiao Yan simply waved his hand, sealing off the surrounding space with ease. Panic flickered across their faces. At Donghua's urging, the three decided to strike together. Even Tianming Old Demon, filled with resentment, knew this was their only chance of survival. The three half-saints erupted with full power, shaking heaven and earth itself. Energy waves tore through the star realm, as if the sky were collapsing. Yet Xiao Yan only raised his palm slowly, a strange light flickering in his eyes. 4 different heavenly flames swirled together in his hand, fusing into a massive, 4-colored ring of fire. With a calm yet terrifying force, he unleashed it. The attack was none other than Xiao Yan's ultimate technique, Buddha's Wrath Reincarnation. The colossal fire wheel collided with the combined attacks of the 3 half-saints. But instead of a deafening explosion, the fiery black ring quietly devoured their strikes, dissolving them as though they were nothing but fragile illusions. The 3 enemies stared in disbelief, their attacks completely neutralized. Fear crept into their eyes. Even with all 3 of them combined, they were utterly powerless before Xiao Yan's Dou Sheng might. From afar, Yao Lao watched the battle, his heart pounding with both shock and relief. That destructive force, it was enough to annihilate souls completely. Realizing the hopelessness of their situation, Donghua was the first to flee, darting toward the exit of the Star Realm. Tianming Old Demon and San Zun followed in terror. Their retreat triggered chaos. The warriors of the Mingyi League, seeing their leaders run, broke ranks and fled in a frenzy. But Xiao Yan was merciless. He whispered a word, and the black fire disk hanging in the sky responded. It released a column of pitch-black light that swept across the battlefield, engulfing the fleeing enemies. Those caught within screamed in horror as their bodies began to dissolve into nothingness. Their Dou Qi, no matter how desperately they channeled it, melted away like snow under the blazing sun. The shrieks of despair filled the air. Even Donghua, Tianming Old Demon, and San Zun barely clung to life, their strength draining rapidly under the suffocating power of the black fire. Terror consumed them. Tianming Old Demon, realizing death was inevitable, chose to self-detonate in one final, desperate attempt to break free. But even that catastrophic explosion was instantly absorbed by Xiao Yan's black fire disk. Not even a wisp of his soul was spared. A mighty half-saint perished just like that. Amidst the chaos caused by Tianming's self-destruction, Donghua and San Zun barely managed to stagger free of the black light. But before they could escape, Xiao Yan appeared before them as if space itself bent to his will. With a single palm, he obliterated San Zun on the spot, his body and soul reduced to ashes. Donghua, consumed with regret and terror, realized too late that he should have eliminated Xiao Yan years ago. His heart quaked as Xiao Yan raised his hand for the killing blow. But before the strike could land, the void itself ripped open. From the darkness, a withered, jet-black arm shot forth, covered in strange demonic lines that pulsed with a soul-rending aura. With a thunderous clash, it blocked Xiao Yan's attack. The entire realm trembled as the 2 forces collided. The arm belonged to none other than a true Dou Sheng of the Soul Clan. The sinister energy surged, and Xiao Yan's eyes grew sharp. He recalled his black fire disk to protect his fist, the 2 powers clashing violently. For the first time, his attack was stopped. The mysterious arm recoiled slightly, as if even its owner feared Xiao Yan's flames. Without wasting a second, it grabbed Donghua, trying to drag him back into the void. But Xiao Yan was unwilling to let his enemy go so easily. In a flash, his strike pierced through, leaving several bloody holes in Donghua's body. The Soul Palace elder screamed in agony, his cries echoing across the heavens.